Hey guys, this is Dave with Gazaudio. Today we're going to be taking a look at the FIIO Jade Audio Q11 portable DAC amp. Q11 is priced at $100 and I think is kind of based on the Q1 and Q1 Mark II. I owned the Mark II and I liked it, so it's good to see FIIO still trying to offer something kind of small, I guess, with lots of power, volume control, gain switch, and a balanced output at a very budget-friendly price. As you can see, they include some pretty cool accessories as well. So this is what you get included in the box with the Q11. You have the DAC itself, 3 different USB cables, a Type-C to Type-C, Type-A to Type-C, and a Lightning to Type-C. And they even give you a silicone strap and pad so that you can attach this to your phone, which really makes it a lot easier to manage when you're out and about. And as for inputs, outputs, buttons, and knobs, in the front we have a volume control that also functions as an on-off switch. We have a gain switch, a 4.4 balanced, and a 3.5 single-ended output on the back. There's a Type-C input, an LED indicator, and then on the top there's a cool little window that when the device is powered on, the inside lights up and you can see some of the internals of the device. And the internal light also changes colors based on the audio format, which kind of segues us into design and specifications. The glass and the metal combination is nice, and again, I think the window and internal colored changing light are pretty cool. I also like the angular cuts in the metal housing, and the overall build quality is very good. It does have a little weight to it, but there's quite a bit going on internally, so it's kind of to be expected. Speaking of internals, the Q11 actually has some pretty impressive specifications for this price range. It uses dual Cirrus Logic CS43198 DAC chips, which supports 32-bit PCM and DSD256. It also has a built-in 2600 milliamp battery and claims 12 hours of playback time. I actually got about 11, but I imagine that can vary based on your usage and your volume levels. And while it is a little on the larger side when compared to other USB dongle style DACs or even other portable battery powered dongle DACs like the Channeling UA5, again, while it may be quite a bit larger, this has a much larger battery and it gives you way more power output than any dongle in this price range could. Speaking of power output, the Q11 puts out an impressive 650 milliwatts at 32 ohms out of the balanced output. However, it does only give you about 165 milliwatts out of the 3.5 output, but that's actually still plenty for IEMs. Okay, let's talk about the sound of the Q11, but as we do, I want to do some comparisons along the way just to give you an idea of where the Q11 lands in terms of sound performance. But I also want to talk a little bit about its practicality and whether or not this is something that might work for you. So the general sound presentation of the Q11 is linear, but it's not clinical or cold. It basically gives you an uncolored or neutral presentation across the entire frequency spectrum. So if I plug a warm IEM or headphone into the Q11, I get a warm presentation. Or if I plug something neutral in, it gives me a neutral presentation. It allows me to hear the sound signature of what I plug into it, basically. As opposed to, say, the Channeling UA5, which uses the Sabre ES9038Q2M and leans just a little more warm. It's neutral, but it's slightly fuller and richer sounding in the bass. The Q11 has good overall detail and clarity for its price, and while I felt like it generally performed very well, its dynamics weren't quite up to the levels of, say, the FIIO BTR7. And right now, I mostly have USB dongles, DAPs, and desktop stacks, so I don't really have anything on hand this size for direct comparison. I have owned quite a few before, and I do have the X-Duo XP2 on the way, but right now the best I can do is compare it with what I have on hand. That being said, of the 20 or so DACs that I do own or I have owned around or at $100, this is the best sounding. And this was a tough one for me because that includes my beloved 2021 BTR5, another FIIO of course, and of course my other favorite is the BTR7. But what I found was that the Q11 had slightly better overall detail and dynamics than the BTR5, but falls short of coming to, again, the detail or dynamic levels of the BTR7 or the K7, which that's the FIIO's desktop DAC. Now, of course, those are twice the price, so I know it's not really a fair comparison. However, the Q11 is on par with, as far as sound performance, with the Moon River 2, the XO, M3, the FC5, the UA3, which are all more expensive than the Q11. Speaking of the Moon River 2, which costs $189, I think, it also uses the same DAC chips as the Q11, the CS43198, and they sound almost identical. So in terms of pure sound performance, the Q11 is hitting above its weight, in my opinion. For the $100 price range in terms of overall sound quality, so detail, dynamics, it has low noise, low distortion, it's almost completely neutral. It's among the best I've heard, maybe the best at this price. And yes, there are, I'm sure, other devices out there that I haven't heard that may sound better, but all I can do again is compare it to what I have on hand or to what I've heard before. Also tested for background noise using my Zen Pros and my 2020 Andromedas, and there was none at all. Of course, I tested it in high and low gain, and again, I didn't hear any noise in either mode. So how practical is the Q11? I mentioned earlier that even though this is much larger and arguably much less convenient, at least for traveling, than a USB dongle DAC like the battery-powered BTR5 or the UA5, some of you still may have a need for something with a larger battery and a higher power output for traveling. For example, if you're traveling with headphones that require more power and you're not sure if you'll have access to a phone charger or a wall plug for your laptop for a while, then this might be a better option for you. Now, for me, most of the time when I'm traveling, I just take one of my USB DACs because I usually have access to a phone charger, and I typically don't take headphones. I'll just take IEMs and leave my headphones at home. And the headphones I do own don't require a ton of power anyway. So I'm going to prioritize size and convenience over battery life and power. Now, at the end of the day, my goal is to try and determine whether or not something is a good value and whether or not something will work for you by sharing how well it worked for me. And in terms of sound performance, for its price, this performed very well for me. It may not always be as practical for me as far as traveling, given my particular traveling habits, but I know if I do decide to take this somewhere, it's going to give me great sound performance, lots of power, and I'm not going to have to worry about my phone battery or laptop battery draining. Not to mention, it's got a great design and great build quality. And it only cost $100, so it's obviously a great value. So do I recommend the Q11? If you're on a budget and you want great sound and need something for use on the go, and your priority is battery life and power over size, then absolutely, because this will give you all of that. And again, it comes with those handy little silicone straps as well. So this is absolutely a solid package and was an easy recommendation for me. So that concludes my review of the FIIO Q11. If you're new to the Gazaudio channel and you like our videos, please take a minute and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to go a step farther with your support, we also now have a Patreon. I'll make sure and leave a link in the description. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. Please like this video. Please share this video. I hope you guys have an awesome day.